California State Prison-Sacramento, better known by its nickname, New Folsom, is a high-security prison that houses around 1,600 Level 4 inmates. Back on April 12, 2024, at approximately 6:55 p.m., staff would respond to a disturbance within a housing unit. Incarcerated person Christopher Leong would begin charging and hitting staff members, and although officers would attempt to put him in physical restraints, he would continue to lash out and even spit at officers. Eventually, officers were able to gain control and use physical force to pin him to the ground. However, Leong would lose consciousness, stop breathing, and although medical aid was immediately provided and paramedics were summoned, at 7:50 p.m., Christopher Leong would be pronounced deceased.
Inmate in Folsom died after being pinned to the ground. The Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation says Christopher Leong charged and began to hit staff Friday night. Officers attempted to put him in physical restraints, but they say he continued to lash out and spit at officers. Officers then used physical force to pin him to the ground. He lost consciousness and stopped breathing. Less than an hour later, Leong was pronounced dead, and right now officials are investigating the use of force that led to his death. The Inspector General's office has been notified, and the Sacramento County coroner will determine the official cause of death. Leong has been in jail since June of 2011. He was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after firing a gun inside an area with people, as well as second-degree attempted murder with a street gang.
Family of a man shot and killed outside a Midtown bar held a memorial for him tonight at the spot where he lost his life. The Sacramento coroner is also identifying the man tonight as Joseph Valadez.
His family says he was out celebrating his best friend's birthday the night he was killed.
Emotional embraces between family and friends coming together to honor the memory of Joseph Valadez. The candlelight memorial outside Costanza's Sports Bar on L Street in Midtown Sacramento, where Valadez died. Family said they were too distraught to speak. A GoFundMe page for Valadez funeral funds shows a photo of him with his young son. The tribute describes the attack as a random violent crime and describes Valadez as a 20-year-old single father who was loving and caring. The night of the deadly attack, a Nest surveillance video captured the sounds of the gunshots. Sacramento police said a motive is unknown. They believe there was some type of altercation before the shooting.
It's coming up 21st. I saw two guys running the opposite way that I was coming.
David Higginbotham lives across the street from the bar and watched the chaos unfold that night.
Especially at a bar, especially in Midtown, you know. It's just, there's other ways to resolve conflict, you know.
A deadly attack at a Midtown bar, leaving a young father dead, his family in mourning, and investigators searching for answers and a suspect.
Well, the Sacramento police say a second victim was also shot at that Midtown bar, and that suspect is expected.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. It means a lot that you're here. Really quick, before jumping into it, let's do the intros. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I truly, truly hope you like it. If you do like it, go back, check out some other videos, check out some other content, and let me know what you think. And you already know what I think of you guys if you continue to support the channel, if you've been with me for however long, whether this is your first or second video, or whether this is your 100th video, it doesn't matter. Because of you guys, this channel continues to see the growth and success that has seen so far in 2025. And lastly, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, hit the like button, hit the comment button, engage in some conversation, please, and please smash that subscribe button. Let's roll. Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Really appreciate you guys checking out the video today. I feel like I got a really good one for you. We're going to be diving deep into this one, okay? So this is about an inmate death, not at the hands of another inmate, or not an inmate attacking a corrections officer or other staff. This one was a use of justified, that's what they ruled, justified use of lethal force. I really dug deep on this, especially because we're talking about California State Prison, Sacramento, New Folsom is what it goes by. I found an amazing article about a guy who used to be a corrections officer, basically became an investigative services member where he would investigate inmate deaths, staff violence, inmate violence, and he ended up committing suicide. His wife found him because basically he said he could not deal with the stress and the corruption and the things that were going on inside of the California State Prison-Sacramento. So I thought it really blended well with our story today. We're going to be talking about that. But we're going to start with the CDCR's article about the incident that took place on April 12, 2024. The California State Prison, Sacramento, better known as New Folsom, Investigative Services Unit, CDCR's Deadly Force Investigation Team, and the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office are investigating the death of an incarcerated person who died after a use of force incident. On Friday, April 12th at 6:55 p.m., staff responded to a disturbance in a housing unit. Incarcerated person Christopher Leong charged and began to hit staff. Officers would attempt to put him in physical restraints, and he continued to lash out and spit at officers. Eventually, officers used physical force to pin him to the ground. Leong lost consciousness and stopped breathing. Medical aid was immediately provided, and paramedics were summoned at 7:50 p.m. Folsom Fire Department paramedic pronounced him deceased. 10 staff members reported minor injuries as a result of the incident. So right there, when I read that, I'm just kind of like, okay, so he wasn't shot. It sounds like he might have suffocated. You know, if you pin somebody down, if you flip them, if you handcuff behind their back, if you pinned them down on their stomach, you got a bunch of weight on top of them. If you're not able to breathe, if you're not able to breathe in deeply, I couldn't think of a much worse way to die than suffocation. And again, I try to really remain neutral on a lot of these things. Sometimes I get comments that I don't think people understand that I 100% know that the contraband that comes into the prisons, guys, I know the staff is what's bringing that in for the most part. Yes, there's gang members and high-ranking gang members that are having mules or things sent through the mail or girls coming in, but a lot of the phones and a lot of their BS, that's correction staff doing that. So I just want to make that very clear. I am not on the side of the correction staff. I'm on the side of the truth, and I want to know exactly what happened. And in this case, I don't take what they're saying on surface level. I believe there was a lot more that went into this with Christopher Leong. Yes, he was acting up. Yes, he wasn't behaving well. But to jump from, we had to physically restrain him. He was spitting on us. Okay, you put a spit mask on him. But 10 people talk about injuries, and he's dead. It just does not sound good. And then when you couple that with the article that we're going to read here in a few minutes about this guy who was an investigator and investigated these homicides or these murders or these attacks, and what he said went on with corruption and cover-ups, make you question everything. Officials have limited movement in the yard where the incident occurred to facilitate the investigation. The Office of the Inspector General was notified, and the Sacramento County Coroner will determine Leong's official cause of death. Christopher Leong was admitted from Sacramento County on June 7th, 2011. He was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for discharge of a firearm in an inhabited dwelling, vehicle, or aircraft, and a second-degree attempted murder with Street Gang Act and commission of a violent felony. He was a Norteno Street Gang member from South Sacramento. I got some really good information on him, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So, Christopher Leong background. This was an appeal that was filed in October of 2014. And you guys already know I love when I can find the appeals and get the factual and procedural background of the case, because it just goes into depth about really what happened. Okay, so this talks about the jury trial and counts 2 through 5, kind of a bunch of minutia, a bunch of just filler, but this is about the events that took place. On the evening of December 9th, 2009, Jesse Mania was visiting a friend at the Dewey Garden Apartments on Dewey Boulevard and Falconeer Way in the south area of Sacramento, and I put a picture up of those apartments. He left around midnight, and as he was walking to his car on Falconeer Way, he saw a white Ford Taurus slowly drive past him. The car was full of males, and the male seated in the front passenger seat was hanging out of the window, looking around. Mania, quote, did not have a good feeling, so he hurried to his car, got inside, and attempted to leave. As he was headed down Falconeer Way toward Dewey Boulevard, the Taurus circled back around, and the male seated in the front passenger seat began shooting. Mania sped up, turned into a parking lot to try to avoid getting shot, jumping out of his car and ran about 15 yards to his friend's apartment. As he turned into the parking lot, a shot hit the passenger door of Mania's car, and his back window shattered. Once back inside his friend's apartment, he told his friend's father, Larry Trejo, that someone was shooting at him. The male who fired the shots was, quote, a light-skinned, he said he wasn't black, but was otherwise couldn't identify his race. May now believe the male who fired the shots was wearing a white or light-colored shirt. Trejo heard approximately 5 gunshots after Mania left the apartment. Trejo telephoned law enforcement approximately 5 minutes after Mania returned to the apartment and was placed on hold for approximately 2 minutes. Officers were dispatched to the scene at 12:40 a.m. According to Trejo, it was not uncommon to hear gunshots around the apartment complex. The apartment manager's grandson, Eddie Lerna, resembled Mania and drove a similar car. Trejo did not know if Lerna was in a gang, but testified that he wore a lot of red clothing and, quote, got into problems a lot. Mania denied belonging to a gang, ever being associated with the gang, or having any enemies. He had never seen the white Taurus prior to the shooting. 10 spent shell casings were found near the intersection of Falconer and Dewey. The casings, quote, traveled from the intersection approximately 30 feet. A projectile consistent with a bullet was found in a bucket outside the apartment complex's laundry room. Meanwhile, at 12:29 a.m. the same morning, Sacramento police officer Mario Valenzuela was parked alongside Officer Ralph Connect. I did not find a picture of Valenzuela, but I did find a picture of Officer Connect. I put that up for you guys. In the area of 21st Avenue in Bradford, when he heard about 4 gunshots north or northwest of their location. Valenzuela and Connect began looking for vehicles leaving the area. Connect positioned himself along 21st Avenue because it is a main thoroughfare, and 1 or 2 minutes later, a call came over the radio stating that there had been a, quote, possible drive-by shooting in the area of 17th Avenue, the same general area where Valenzuela said he heard the gunshots. No more than a minute later, Connect saw a, quote, white sedan, quote, shoot across 21st Avenue onto 71st Street. The car was traveling at a, quote, decent rate of speed and was coming from the area where the shots had been fired. Connect, quote, went to try to catch up to it. And when he did so, he noticed the car did not have a license plate. Connect notified dispatch that he was making a traffic stop of a white Ford Taurus with approximately 6 occupants. Oh, man. They're on a mission, man. They're doing a spin the block. And then activated his overhead lights. No plate, 6 dudes all blooded up, all redded out. It's like, man, asking for it. No wonder Mania was walking to his car, leaving his friend's apartment. He's all nervous. He sees 6 guys, 1 guy hanging out the window, all flamed up. God, I'm not laughing, but it's like, God, just picture that. No wonder he ran back inside. When the Taurus failed to stop, Connect activated his siren and pursuit ended. During the approximately 12-minute pursuit, the Taurus ran 13 stop signs and numerous stoplights and reached speeds of upwards of 80 miles per hour. Connect did not observe anyone throw anything out of the Taurus during the pursuit. However, he lost visual contact with the Taurus several times, such that he would not have been able to see if something was thrown from the car. The pursuit ended after the Taurus experienced mechanical problems. All 6 occupants were ordered out of the Taurus at gunpoint. Carrasco was seated in the driver's seat and Leong was seated in the front passenger seat. The other occupants were Phoenix Alianik, Justin Guerrero, Cesar Santana, and David Hinton. Leong, who was Asian, was wearing a white, black, and green striped shirt. Leong is our person in this story. Defendants were placed together in the backseat of a Connect's patrol car and were recorded by the car's in-car camera. On the recording, a male voice can be heard stating, quote, I ditched it. The Taurus involved in the pursuit matched the description of the vehicle given by Mena early that morning at approximately 1 a.m. Mena was brought to the location where the pursuit ultimately ended, and he identified the white Taurus involved in the pursuit as the same car that was involved in the shooting on Falconer Way. Mena was, quote, 100% sure that it was the same vehicle. The Taurus was searched, and no firearm was found. There was 1 spent shell casing and 1 live bullet underneath the front passenger seat. 1 shell casing between the driver's side window and the front windshield, a spent round that someone shot into the car at some point in the trunk, and another spent round that someone shot into the car on the floorboard. Officers also searched the pursuit route, particularly those areas where Connect lost sight of the Taurus and no gun was found. At 1:10 a.m., a forensic investigator arrived at 7512 17th Avenue. She observed 5 .40 caliber shell casings in the street in front of the house, a spent bullet on the driveway, 2 bullet holes through the front window of the residence, 1 bullet hole in the garage door, and 1 bullet hole in a parked car in the driveway. The residents were a couple in their 40s or 50s at approximately 2:40 a.m. Defendants and other occupants' hands were tested. This is important for gunshot residue. According to the prosecutor's expert in gunshot residue analysis, gunshot residue consists of particles containing lead, barium, and antimony. God, I probably said that wrong. These chemicals exist separately inside the primer cup inside the shell. When the gun is fired, however, the mixture vaporizes and the chemicals fuse together. And I kind of jumped ahead because there was a lot of just stuff that didn't need to be said. But getting to our guy, Christopher Leong, there were 4 lead, barium, and antimony, 9 lead and antimony, and 12 lead-only particles detected on the samples collected from Christopher Leong. There were 14 lead, barium, and antimony, 14 lead and antimony, 1 lead and barium, and 5 lead-only particles on the samples taken from Carrasco. According to the expert, the amount of gunshot residue detected on the samples taken from Leong makes secondary transfer unlikely. So that means that it wasn't like, oh, he was in close proximity or it was just his hand was by it. It's like, no, he fired the gun. The amount of gunshot residue detected in the samples collected from Carrasco is inconsistent with secondary transfer. Rather, it is consistent with firing a weapon, handling a fired weapon, or being near a weapon when it was fired. According to the prosecutor's firearm and tool mark identification expert, the shell casings collected from Falconer Way, 17th Avenue, and inside the Taurus were fired from the same semi-automatic firearm. Then they got a gang expert up there, Detective Donald Shoemaker. He was printed to testify as an expert in Hispanic street gangs, specifically specifically the Nortenos. Shoemaker had been a detective in the Sacramento Police Department's gang unit for 4 years and specialized in Hispanic street gangs in the, quote, south part of Sacramento, specifically the Nortenos. He served as the lead investigator on no less than 50 gang crimes, assisted in the investigation of at least 100 others. He typically had contact with 6 to 8 gang members per week. That's crazy, though. So these guys are like just gives you an idea how many people actually tell and how many people snitch, and how if you're in the streets, guys, get out, okay? I talk about sobriety on my page, maybe not as much as I used to, but again, if you don't know, I'm a 5-year recovery addict. I'm a white guy. I was never a gang member, but I was in and around a lot of them because of my drug use, my heroin addiction, my pill addiction, my Xanax and cocaine addiction. And once you are in that, and once I got into my late 20s, I've been in this game for 10 years. And if any of you have suffered from addiction, if any of you have been in that street life, and again, I was not a gang member, I was not out being a badass, I was not doing any of that, I was a full-blown addict. But what comes with that is violence. What comes with that is lies, manipulation. People that you think are friends, they are not friends. They will stab you in the back. And I believe that goes hand in hand with the gang life. Because that statement right there where he talks to 6, that's a cop talking to 6 to 8 gang members a week. They're not talking about life. They're not talking about how good they're doing. They're talking about what's going on in the streets, who's doing what, and how they can keep themselves out of trouble. That's all it is. And when you mix in drugs, when you mix in violence, it never, never ends well. Schumacher, his opinion was that the Nortenos are a criminal street gang, explaining that there are around 1,500 Norteno gang members within the county of Sacramento. They have a common symbol, the number 14 and the color red, and they all claim all of Sacramento as their turf. Okay, so I was going to end the video here, but I came across this amazing article about a wife who got interviewed about the background on New Folsom Prison and their shady practices. All right, and this is an article from, let me make sure I get the date right on this. This is an article from just a year ago, December 16th, 2024. Quick drink of water. Okay, so this is just a few months after Christopher Leong's death, all right? When Lily Steele got home from work on that hot, humid evening in August of 2021, she expected to find her husband, Sergeant Kevin Steele, sitting at his desk working on his book. The couple had moved to a rural area near Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks after Steele had taken a leave of absence from his job as an investigator in a high-security prison in Folsom, California, and he was at New Folsom. Writing the book, Lily said, quote, was his new job. The manuscript chronicled Steele's decade at the prison, where he had become increasingly frustrated with the system he came to see as corrupt and antithetical to his deep Christian faith. His project had an ominous working title, quote, The Thin Line Blurs, How to Kill a Cop, Betrayal. And I will say this really quick. If you guys want to watch a good YouTube channel, go over and watch Hector Bravo. He is a retired corrections officer, and he is full out going to war with CDCR to expose these guys, to expose Jeff McCumber, to expose the BS that Gavin Newsom started with this California prison model, even though they're saying they're putting an end to it. McCumber, all of these guys, again, guys, you're all at risk. If you have inmates, family or friends that are inmates within the CDCR, family or friends that are workers, administrators, whatever within the CDCR, everyone's at risk. And I don't care about getting eye rolls. I don't care about, you can't blame this. The blame starts at the top and works its way down, okay? And this guy right here was a well-respected corrections officer, then became an investigator, and ended up seeing so much bullshit and affected him so deeply that he took his own life. But the 56-year-old wasn't at his desk. Lily called Steele's phone and found it ringing on the kitchen counter. She started to panic. She knew her husband had been struggling. Months earlier, he told her that he was haunted by, quote, trailer of dead people. Some were soldiers he'd served alongside in Iraq who hadn't made it home. The rest were from the California prison, Sacramento, known colloquially as New Folsom. There was Ronnie Price. Look that name up, guys. The 65-year-old whose arms were shackled behind his back when correction officers slammed him to the ground, fatally injuring him. There was Luis Giovanni Aguilar. The young man had been stabbed to death by 2 other incarcerated men in full view of officers. I did a video on him. Finally, and perhaps most painfully, there was his friend, Officer Valentino Rodriguez Jr., who died of a fentanyl overdose 6 days after blowing the whistle on fellow officers for alleged misconduct. 6 days after he blows the whistle and he dies of an overdose, guys. It's just... question everything. Quote, Kevin, you didn't kill those people. You tried to help, Lily remembers telling her husband. Quote, you followed the protocol, the chain of command. You told the people in charge it's up to them to carry the ball now. After searching the house, Lily walked away from the open garage across to the driveway, a red storage shed. That's where she found her husband, already dead. Steele had hung himself. In a recording of the 911 call, the dispatcher can be heard asking Lily if her husband, quote, had been sick. No, she sobbed. Quote, he's been dealing with a lot of stuff from his work. And that's just the beginning of it. I encourage anybody to go check that out. His name was Sergeant Kevin Steele. That's Lily Steele. That's on a website, kqed.org, basically tied in with PBS. Go read that article. This is one of the more fascinating stories I've done. And again, I think I'm just scratching the surface, but I encourage anybody to continue reading, to continue investigating. Go check out Hector Bravo's channel. Go check out 59J's channel, Renegade Media. Any of these other channels that talk about prison and all that stuff. Go listen to whoever you guys like. Keep the pedal down. Keep your foot on these guys' throat, on their necks. Expose this stuff. Expose the corruption. It's the only way you're really going to have any change. And let me know what you think in the comments below of this video. Much love, much appreciation. Until next time, you already know what it is. Peace.